Deadly Tarantula Girl coming to you from my private serpentarium tonight with a very special surprise. I was cleaning the other night and I had a little mommy with an egg sack and it hatched out, which was super duper exciting because I know you guys have seen an egg sack or two on my channel, but let me tell you a little insider secret. I've been super bummed out and worried because I've had a few egg sacks in a row actually go bad, which you've seen a bit of on camera. I started getting super worried about the species of cricket that I was feeding. I felt like they were nutritionally deficient, and I've started supplementing with roaches and worms and some other things. I've had this mother's health on my mind, and obviously I made the right choice. It might have been coincidental, maybe those crickets were okay, but I really watch for trends and what's happening in my collection to try and catch a problem before it turns into mass die-off, because when you have hundreds and hundreds of animals, you have to be very, very vigilant and super observant. And I know in my feeding videos that I've put out recently, some people are like, holy moly, dude, you're so serious. And I've had to explain that it's a science what I'm doing. And I know that sounds kind of dramatic, but I'm very serious when it comes to feeding and caring for multiple animals, because you really, really have to be sensitive to what's happening in your collection. Back to business. I had my Pterinochilus Chordatus mommy, commonly known as the Kilimanjaro mustard baboon, which is interesting because they're not very yellowy, but I was wondering if maybe they live in mustard plants. Let me know if you know in the comments below. Anyway, I was cleaning, watering, feeding, and I came to check on this little mama, and I had a beautiful surprise. Let's take a look. Here you can see my lovely little mom, who's a little thin at this point. She'll need to be fed very soon. There is specialized care that you want to give a mother with an egg sac. You can see all the little slings here running around. So right now they are in a first instar stage. When they are in the eggs with legs stage, they do not emerge from the sac. They can't walk, although at first instar they do. Although in most species that is not yet a feeding stage. You can see the beautiful burrow that she had that they all emerged from. Can you see it? I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit, and I'm talking more quietly because I don't want to disturb her, and even the vibrations from your voice can stress them out a little bit, which when you have a mom with babies, you want to be especially careful. It's important to feed very carefully when you have a mom with an egg sac, because feeding sometimes can evoke a feeding response, and sometimes the mothers will kind of eat their egg sac while they're in a feeding frenzy. You have to be very, very careful. You need to make sure they have plenty of moisture. Don't leave the babies with the mother for too long. Some people remove the egg sacs and incubate them themselves, and both ways have pros and cons. Leaving the egg sac with the mother, taking it, it's always a difficult choice to make. Sometimes I base that decision on how aggressive the species is, how nervous and anxious they are, because the more stressed the animal is, the more likely she is to devour her sac out of a survival response. Basically what happens is once your mother becomes stressed, she may make a subconscious decision that if she and her egg sac are in danger, that it's better to eat the egg sac, reabsorb the nutrients, and live another day to lay another egg sac than for she and her offspring to be at risk, which obviously I'm not here to kill her or her babies, but she still has a very natural, strong instinct. If you do leave the little slings with the mother, it's important not to leave them in there too long, as the mother can cannibalize. What happens in the wild is that although she will stay with the egg sac and care for it while it's incubating, the spiderlings usually disperse fairly quickly. In the wild, a mother will supervise and incubate her egg sac very vigilantly. However, once the slings get to a walking stage, first instar, they are usually not at a feeding stage yet, however they can walk, and they often disperse fairly quickly, which is good because usually you have a pretty hungry mom by that point, and the babies will even cannibalize on each other. It's around the stage that I usually separate fairly quickly, which, as you can see, they're all embedded here in the silk. Some of them are at different stages of molting, just like any living organism. They kind of develop on their own time. Some of them are slightly larger. Sometimes that can indicate a male over a female. This is a pretty long and painstaking process. However, I don't want to stress the mom out anymore, so I'm not going to separate them tonight. I'll probably separate them in a night or two. And I do have other videos where I show that it's difficult and complicated. It takes a steady hand. Obviously, your main goal is to separate everybody without squishing anyone, which at this age and how delicate they are can be very difficult. So I'll link a few videos below where I do that if you're like super anxious to see how that goes. And I will try to film the separation, although I have to go out of town this weekend and I have some other things going. I will film it if I can. I'll make my best effort. If not, I'm sure I'll have more Eggsack soon. I just think that this terrestrial, I don't know, I think it's super neat to see when they're all these spiderlings tangled up in the silk. It's a really interesting process to separate them all. This was my Pterinochilus Chordatus. Hope you guys liked this one, and congratulations to my new mommy. And I'll be separating these babies out so I can get her fed and watered. I am going to water them tonight, and I'll be seeing you guys soon. Comment below if you would like to see footage of the separation, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.